Hello, my name is Angela Dow, Meetings and Event Manager for HFTP. Welcome to today's webinar, Budgeting, Moving Toward Automation. For financial professionals, the budget process has always been at the forefront, but in recent years it has taken an importance amongst budget committees, general managers, men alike. For years, the club industry has relied on Excel and manual data entry to produce budgets, forecasting a system at great risk for errors that can replicate throughout the process. This session will give you the tools to streamline your budget process, improve operations, and ensure great accuracy. Our presenter today is Jonathon Goodman. He is the controller at Fisherman's Creek Beach Country Club in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. He has successfully implemented several innovative programs related to automation for accounting and membership functions. Please help me welcome your presenter, Jonathon Goodman. Thank you and enjoy the webinar. I will turn the floor over to Mr. Goodman.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to sort of go ahead and show how the industry is sort of moving away from Excel-based budgeting to specialized budgeting software. So a little bit about myself. Like she mentioned, I am currently the club controller at Frenchman's Creek Beach and Country Club. However, prior to that, I was an auditor with McGladrey in Poland, then McGladrey, and then RSM US, so it's changed several times. But so I was on both sides of the equation, which in the end, I think helped me a lot understand the process. So let's first talk about budgeting. One of the most, if not the most important process we all perform. Like you mentioned before, departments rely on the information for guidance. They're always looking, what's my budget for this month? What's my budget for the year? Board and committees are constantly using it to gauge the operations. They're always wondering, where the inefficiencies are or the perceived inefficiencies. And of course, anybody who's been to a finance committee meeting or a board meeting, we always hear, what is the reason why we're either over or under the budget monthly? I find this funny because, very interesting enough, I was at my last finance committee meeting, and one of the members of the committee mentioned that, the budget is obsolete right after it's made. And of course, I just shook my head and, thought for a moment, but they're constantly asking about the budget. It's one of the time we spend the most time on. Usually it's a several-month process, very labor-intensive in terms of the club. And one of the things that I think we have to talk about when we're talking about budgeting is also forecasting, because now these two items go sort of hand in hand. I mean, we create the budget, and then as we go along, we're constantly creating forecasts to see how we're doing compared to that budget. So little definitions here, and we always have to start off with the definition. So what is a budget? It's an estimate of often itemized of expected income and expenses for a given period of time. Now, for most of us, that budget is 12 months or 1 year period. When you talk about capital budgets, some people prepare 5-year or 10-year capital budgets, but mostly I'm going to stick to operating budgets in this presentation. Also important to say, what is forecasting? And interesting enough, when I looked at the definition as a planning tool that helps management in its attempt to cope with the uncertainty of the future, relying on data from the past and present along with the analysis of trends. To me, that definition of forecasting sounded very much like the definition of a budget. So you see how the two items go hand in hand, although they are not the same, but they really do go hand in hand. So I think we're going to go to our first poll question.
Thanks, Jonathon. At this time, you should see polling question number 1 on your screen, and it reads, how much time do you spend on the budget? And your choices are 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and more than 3 months. Again, the question is, how much time do you spend on the budget? And give everyone just a couple more seconds to answer here. Jonathan, looks like the answers are all split here. 36% say 3 months, and 27% say more than 3 months. Back to you.
Okay, so as we can see from the answers, it's a sizable amount of time that we spend on the budget, and that's really important. Part of the time that we do spend on the budget, and I'm sure most of you have been through this, is creating multiple versions of the budget. I've been in situations where I've heard, we're on the 12th version of the budget, and of course I'm being overly dramatic here, but this did happen when the economic downturn happened. We were constantly told to cut budgets, to cut budgets, to cut budgets. So we had multiple versions, which were kept in multiple spreadsheets. The other are multiple scenarios. I mean, what happens if we were to close a location on a Tuesday? What would happen to our overall revenues? Or what happens if we offered this service? Again, multiple scenarios. And then also, it's to the degree of which your staff is involved. I mean, do you have department people that are required to input data? Is that viewed by management? So a lot of times, we all know that most of the budgets go to the general manager before it goes to our committees. So there's always staff involvement. The more staff you have involved, obviously, sometimes the longer the process takes. I created my own little sort of budget cycle that I wanted to go over. I'll start at the top. It starts mostly with trends. Then it goes to the priorities of the club. What are your priorities? From there, we make a planning phase. We actually take those priorities and plan them out. We analyze it then to see if it's financially viable or will it fit into our budget model for that particular year. We then will create the budget. Like I said before, usually multiple versions, multiple scenarios. Once the budget is prepared and approved, then we go on to the forecasting part of it, where we look at the trends, we look at actually how we're going to do. So that's just a little bit of the budget cycle. But then within each of those circles, there's breakdowns of the individual units. So like, for instance, trends. What is the trend? What are the covers trends? What are the rounds trends? What are the demographics? Is our population aging? I'm talking about our membership population. Is that population aging? Are they playing less rounds? Are they eating less? And then obviously, what is our competition doing? Because especially here down in South Florida and many other parts of the country, there's a large concentration of clubs. So we always have to pay attention to what our competition is doing. And then, what's your market? Our particular market happens to be the Northeast. What's the trends in the Northeast? What will make a member either move here or not move here? So these are all the things we really need to take into consideration when we are planning and when we are starting to produce the budget. So you can see there's a lot of factors which play into this. I think we're ready for our next polling question.
Perfect. Polling question 2 is live on your screen at this time. And the question is, how many people are involved in the budget? And your choices are 2, 6, 10, and more than 10. Again, the question is, how many people are involved in the budget? Looks like C and D are running away with the poll here. Yeah, 46% are saying D, which is more than 10. Back to you, Jonathan.
So you can see when we have many people involved, the time that it's going to take. So what's the budgeting trends? What is the clubs doing there? So most clubs still use Excel. But I looked at the industry as in commercial industry, and only 33% of those businesses use Excel solely for budgeting purposes. More than 80% of those companies that are considered best-in-class companies use a specialized budgeting tool. I've put these figures out here mainly because as an auditor, when I worked for RSM, one of the things we talked about was run your club like a business. And also the other part of that is the best in class. I think most of us consider our club to be best in class. So why aren't we emulating what the business world is doing? Part of this is always the interface, which I'll talk about later. But there's always, most of these tools are developed for the commercial world, but now they're starting to see what the benefit is in our world. I think this is the last polling question we're going to ask.
Yes, polling question number 3 is live on your screen at this time, and it says, are you currently using blank for the budget? And your choices are Excel, budgeting software, combination, or other. The start of the poll here looks like Excel has run away with the poll here.
I'm definitely glad to see at least 7 are using a combination.
Yeah, it looks like almost 70%. Yeah, a little over 70% are using Excel. Back to you, Jonathan.
Okay, thank you. As you can see, 70% of this group is using Excel solely. So, Excel, why do we still use it? Well, it's highly available. It has a high user adoption. Almost everybody that you will see working for your company or club or hotel or any kind of group has used Excel at some point in their life, whether it's in college, high school, whatever. Excel is very highly used. I think it almost comes with every computer you can buy. Been doing it that way since as long as I can remember. I have heard that sentence far more often than I care to remember. And of course, the last one is my favorite. It took me years to get it the way I wanted it, so come hell or high water, I am not changing. And that's what, those are some of the reasons why I heard. Now the bad part, why do we still use Excel? I just put some of the error messages, the more common error messages we get from Excel. I'm sure all of you have seen these at one point or another. Excel is very prone to errors, mistakes, little or no or little collaboration. What I mean by this is you've all been in an Excel worksheet, or most of you have been in an Excel worksheet, and you hear that voice down the hall, can you please get out of blank and blank Excel spreadsheet? I'm trying to get in it. So when one person is in that sheet, no other person can get in. So that's always been an issue. It cannot handle large volumes of data, and there's issues with privacy and security. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about some of the largest errors that have ever been discovered in Excel. One of them actually happened with MI5, British Intelligence, when they were trying to figure out the phone numbers that they needed to put surveillance on. Somebody made a mistake in the spreadsheet and put the last 3 numbers as 000 instead of the actual last 3 digits, and that caused over 10,000 phones to be bugged by mistake. And MI5 says now all buggings are checked manually. Another one of the biggest errors was at Fidelity Magellan Fund, where an analyst accidentally swapped a minus sign with a plus sign. So that left off losses of $1.3 billion. So the loss was considered a gain. Therefore, the results were actually off by $2.6 billion. That's a pretty big mistake. And the funniest one I came across was actually 2 people working at NASA. and one was using feet and inches, and the other one was using centimeters and meters. It caused them actually to lose a satellite because the calculations were all off. So these are all issues with Excel. As you can see, everywhere from NASA to your club, they incur these errors. So what's out there? So we talked about Excel already, and I want to make the disclaimer, I do not promote any of these companies. I'm just listing some of the companies that during my search I found. There's Excel, like I mentioned. Adaptive Insights is one of them. Profix, Budget Maestro, Prospero, and Accelerant. So these are some of the companies that I've discovered during my search. So specialty-based budgeting. So what do we need to look for? Ease of use, integration with our systems, your POS system, general ledger, payroll. We do use ADP, so we wanted to be able to integrate because that's a big aspect of this budgeting software is be able to integrate with your current systems. I just want to step back a second and tell you a little bit about how I got to this particular position. As I said before, I was an auditor with McGladrey. I changed jobs and decided to hop onto the other side. And in doing so, I filled in for a position that was vacant, and was trying to get from the auditor's perspective, we gained an understanding of the budget. Now I was in charge of putting it together. So I had followed the previous person in that position, looking at the spreadsheets, trying to understand them, follow them. So at about 1:30 in the morning, I said to myself, there's got to be a better way to do this. And this is how I sort of stumbled on these budgeting software programs. Again, so does it do what I need? As I've gone on, I have looked at both from the aspects of budgeting by month, because I know most clubs, they'll budget by month. But at my current club, we've asked if it's possible to budget by the day. And it's funny enough, as I talk to these different software companies, most of them, about half of them have the ability to budget by the day, and the other half of them are integrating it into their software. So everybody realizes that as we get closer and closer to doing this, that more and more people are budgeting by the day. Most softwares allow you to budget the personnel either by position or the number of people in the department. So if you want to budget 5 FTEs, you can do that. Or if you want to Joe in accounting, Henry in accounts payable, you can do that too. It allows for both of those abilities. Especially in the club industry, we have some departments where the number, especially if we use foreign labor, those particular people or those names we don't have, we just know how many we're getting. So that ability, and it lets you do it both ways per department. So if you want to budget by person for your administrative department, you could do that. If for your F&B department, you want to do it per number of FTEs, you could do that too. So it really allowed for flexibility in that. Software. So what are the benefits of using specialized budgeting software? Like I mentioned before, the integration with your current systems allow the delivery of up-to-date data. So you're always working with the current data. It has the ability to roll up hundreds of spreadsheets in minutes. I know personally I can't do that myself, but this program allows you to do it. It allows all users to be in the system at the same time without creating errors. So if you have your F&B director entering the number of covers into the system, you can be in it as well, maybe doing payroll. Again, by the fact that it's putting real-time data in it, it allows you to do the analysis up to the minute. Again, with the users, it allows you to track users in the system, and I'm going to give you some screenshots to be able to see what I mean by all this. So what does the software look like? Again, I want to put the disclaimer here that I don't endorse any of these software programs. I'm showing you screenshots from a particular program, but I know I have to make that disclaimer. So I found this little snippet article that I thought was extremely fitting here, because as we accountants, we work with the budget constantly. But many of our department heads do not. The golf pro is good at golf and lessons and rounds and stuff like that. They are admittedly not the best at doing the budget. So the software, what it really allows you to do is customize the view to make it more palatable, I guess is the best word to use, for the individual users, so that the individual users will be more apt to look at it and be able to input the data with little to no difficulties. And each one of the software packages that I looked at has sort of a navigation map, and like I said, the unique part about it is it will only show the accounts that are unique to that department, and will leave everything else out. So they're just seeing their part of the budget. So here's a little screenshot. Like I said, we're using Budget Pack. This is the one I'm presenting here. So you see it's very laid out in sort of little sections. Each one, you see administrative expenses. On the top, it talks about the company, the budget. In the next section, you'll see headcount by FTE. Now, when you're in the individual departments, it will show that department FTE. When you're in the overall company, it will show the total company. And then your variance. In this particular example, it shows you the 2015 actual, the 2016 actual, and it shows the budget, and it shows the differences to each of those years by dollar and by percentage. So everything is on your home page, and that top part of the screen, that stays there all the time. So you're always getting current, up-to-date numbers on what your budget is going to look like and where you stand dollar-wise. So it's always right there, visible for you. And as you can see in the below section of the screen, there is the department look at it. So each one of the, again, I'm going to refer to each one of the softwares because they really are very similar in their background, in their makeup, and each one of them will let you use multiple budget methods. You can either use drivers, you can either use a percentage increase over the prior year. You can actually do action pack budgeting, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but it's basically, hey, I have this project and I can budget each line item for that project that will then roll up into the main budget. So that they always provide different methods. As you can see here on the screen, if you look at you're looking at the screen, you're on the bottom left, see it shows you you could do a percentage increase, you could do a per head charge increase, you can do line item detail, you could do a driver, and you could do by rows and columns. So it allows you multiple methods to this. So this is annual amount, percent increase. So in this case, they wanted to increase it 0.99%, which then gives you the total amount, and it shows you also by budget. The good part about it here is you'll see at the top, again, you can see the particular head count for this department. this was your head count at the end of the year. They have, half a person as an addition, so that will bring them to 30.20. Interesting enough, one of the benefits of this software, as you can see, if you move just a little to your right of the head count, it shows you again this section. So here's your budget for this section, and then you have the overall. So in this particular section, it's called seminar fees. So you can see seminar fees rolls up into the marketing department. So it's always very, very detailed in the dollar values it gives you. You can always make a verbal note or a comment on any section, any line item that allows you to understand it better. So especially if you're having other people put it in, you can then decide, and also, you can have the different versions comparing at the same time. So that's, as you can see, the versions in the top left section, in that yellow section, it allows you. And also the interesting part here is if you look just below, currently viewing, you see the company, the unit, the version, and then you can see the status. So it lets you know up to the moment what that status is. It will either read in progress, completed, or sent for review. There's various different statuses that it will allow you to look at. So here's the version you could do by line item detail. And through the research I've done, is showed me that, instead of just putting a percentage increase over an account in any given period, the more you give the detail of what goes into that account, the higher the chance of that budget being approved. So you see in this one, training fees, they have 4 different courses which their people are planning on attending, and the cost associated with that. And again, that rings up at any moment. This, of course, allows you to delete any of these lines. As you can see, just in the box that says by line item detail, it allows you to, delete a section, and then it will recalculate those total fees. So really very open to a lot of detail, and the more detail you put in it, like I said before, gives you a higher chance that that budget will be approved. So what happens when you look at it by driver? So a driver is defined by finance as a control measure. So in this particular example, they're using student fees. We would obviously more use dues. So the quantity this time is 14,100 students at $240 a student, and that allows you to calculate the annual amount. The good part about this is you could select different drivers for different classes of membership. Like you can have a specific driver for your golf members. You can have a specific driver for your social members. You can have drivers for your general members. And that will allow you to increase the rate. Again, one of the benefits of this is the fact that you can also use this to create different scenarios. So what would happen if we had 1,000 members? What happens if we had 500 members? Or what happens if we have 1,500 members? So you can always play with different scenarios that will allow you to understand and to judge better of what's going to happen in your company. In your club, Calculated accounts. Now, most of us have benefit packages that our employees have. So in this example, it's giving you a 403B calculation. And you can even have different amounts for different groups. So in this case, it's allowing 6% of the total compensation for faculty and 4% for total compensation of full-time employees. So that will then automatically calculate, for us mainly it's a 401k distribution, it will allow you to calculate that, and it will look for the class of employee that you're talking about. That will then allow it to associate what number that will it be, whether it be 5%. And again, you can put caps on it, you can put limits. All these things help you with the budgeting process. So, when it comes time to spreading accounts, if you're doing it by a percentage, you can typically it's automatic that will spread it evenly throughout the period, throughout the 12 months. But you can also, one of the things I liked about it was it has your real-time data in there. So it will have your past history data that will allow it to build in seasonality. So it will look at your past, however many years you decide to input into the system. It will look at the past and it will allow you to spread those accounts by seasonality. So, and you can see all the different methods it allows you to spread those accounts. So very interesting, and it allows you to build in other facets. A little bit I talked about is, these action packs, which we call it. So, and the interesting part about this is these action packs are designed when you're talking about interdepartment cooperation. So this one is actually using a update the website design. So you have to involve both the IT department and the marketing department. So they will work together on this action pack item that will allow it to be properly budgeted and then to roll up. So you can see and you make the accounts for each of the departments that they will need to budget for this particular item. So let's see what an action pack looks like. So here's your action pack, flexible judging for justification for unique accounts assigned to that initiative. So it will show you, what's the different line items. Here's your summary, your printing, your meeting expenses, your transportation. So all this initiative is in one view that is able to be viewed by both departments and, of course, yourself. So it allows you really to properly plan these items out. This is one of the items I really thought was innovative and would help very much in our budget process. So we all know that headcount, including salary and benefits, typically make up about 50 to 80% of your budget, especially for those people that use foreign labor because there's associated housing. There's all other associated costs that come with that. But by and large, our salary at all our clubs and hotels are our largest expense. So really, that's one thing we look at. So here is a simple, here's a showing you how it budgets for salary and benefits. So like I said, if you are budgeting on a person-by-person basis, you put in their hire dates, you put in, because some people, some hotels and some clubs use hire date as a date when they are to receive their bonuses or increases in salary. Some use date certain, like I know there are some people that use January 1st as the day all raises kick in. So this will allow you to be able to do that, and you can see the different aspects, headcount review, new hires. If you know someone is retiring, you could put that in the system and you know what you expect the person to follow them to make, and it will actually budget that out. You know, if you have your, let's say your head doorman at your hotel retiring, that will allow you to look at that and say, okay, we're going to replace him this month, and this is how much it's going to cost me. So really from an aspect of personnel, you know, a lot of hotels and a lot of clubs, personnel is our number one issue as we have a lot of people. So this really helped make the budgeting process that much easier for headcount. Mostly, I know this speech is on budgeting, but I think it's important to note that I would say 90% of these softwares also have a reporting feature. So, you know, if your hotel is reporting using Excel or, you know, downloading to Excel, this will do the same. So it allows you to look both at the, and if your hotel has multiple properties, you can look at the multiple properties, roll it up into the consolidated, and then drill down once again. So again, from the screen, you can see the different, you know, it's rolling up all into and finally into the P&L consolidating report. It's by line item. As you can see, the P&L annual report has it by line item. So you set it up. You can have a reporting of your action packs. How are they doing during the year? You can have your headcount expense report. How's that doing during the year? So really, it allows reporting, and again, because the information is being constantly fed from your systems to the software, it allows you to stay on track throughout the year. And then, like every other software, like most softwares, it will then download to Excel, and will, you know, if you want it, it will give you a graph, but it will produce the report. You know, if your KPIs, you're looking for RevPAR, you're looking for room rentals, you're looking for any of that information, it actually allows you to provide those graphs on the side to really make your presentation look better. So each report is customized, and that's what one portion I just wanted to step back and talk about. Each one of these companies works with you on an individual basis to set up everything for you. So to look at it, it's very important. I think the implementation is probably 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes 10 weeks long, and they sit with you and they really make sure that the reports and everything are created for your views. So that's really important. A little bit about forecasting. I just wanted to end with this. Again, it's taking the real-time data and looking at it, you know, Q1, you can look at the forecast per month. And like on top, like I showed you, see, and here gives you another, you're starting this forecast. So you notice it says in the top left-hand corner, it says 2017 Q1 forecast for this particular department, marketing. So this allows you to see your forecast, how you're doing to your budget, how you're doing to your 2016 final budget, and how you're doing to your 2016 actuals. So it really allows you, and again, it allows you to be able to do different spreadings. It will be able to add seasonality. You can either do it at the account level, and again, the details. And I think, like I said, I think at this point it's very important to remind that how it goes by the detail. And really, you know, when we talk about in our hotels and our clubs how we want to move, or the industry wants to move more to a zero-based budgeting, this tool really allows you to look at that and to do that and to be able to do it effectively. And this has been an amazing journey, being able to look at how budgeting, just to let you know, currently we are using Forecaster, and one of the reasons why I embarked on this project is because Forecaster is no longer being supported, and so we had to go on and look for new methods. At this point, I'd like to thank everybody, and I'd be willing to take any questions anybody has. Oh, one thing I did want to add, there is a wide variety in cost to these programs. I have seen everything from $9,000 a year to almost $180,000 a year. So really, there's something for everybody out there. And with that, I'll take questions.
Thanks, Jonathan. Just a reminder to everyone, if you would like to ask Jonathan a question, go ahead and make sure you are using the Q&A tab in your interface. We did have some questions come in, and the first question is a double question here, Jonathan. It's, what club solution do you use, and do all of them integrate with these budget softwares?
Well, like I said, we currently use Forecaster, right now we have no integration between it's a downloading of an Excel and then uploading, and some Forecaster is very manual input. But do all software packages integrate? I can't really answer that question. The ones I asked them to, like I mentioned, ADP integrates. He can integrate CHAE. What they do is they create a link, a direct link from your software to their package, and as long as they can create that active link, you'll be able to upload in real time.
The next question is, are you satisfied with your current method of budgeting?
We're always improving, and I think, like I mentioned before, one of the things we're going through is doing a more detailed line item budget. So we're looking at, like I mentioned, travel and education, and what are the seminars people are going to attend in that particular year to be able to budget that line item better. And the average cost of these softwares, like I said, is basically in the range. I gave the range of $9,000 to $180,000, but they're most around. I say the key point of these, and this is actually, I found this quite funny, because the first question all of these software companies will ask you is, what's your budget? What's your operating budget? Is it, and depending on that answer is the cost, because I'll tell you, I looked at one company in particular from two different clubs that I was at, and I got two different prices on what it was going to cost me. So I thought that was very interesting. And most companies give you a discount if you sign up for 3 years, etc. So there's a question, what are the top two software providers you have found works best with Jonas? Again, some of the companies that, the one I demonstrated here, Budget Pack, they will all create, they're one of those that will create a, what they call an active link between the software and my POS software.
The next question, Jonathan, is, what is your biggest challenge in the preparation of your budget?
It's really getting everybody on the same page. Tracking down. One of our biggest challenge is always tracking down the different departments to give us what they're forecasting to be able to create the budget. Like, what are they picturing the amount of covers to be? What are they picturing the amount of rounds to be? What initiatives is that particular department taking on this year, and then costing those out? We do the costing out, but they have to tell us what their plan is. Like, for instance, I'll give you a great example. One of the initiatives this year that we didn't have last year was to create international theme weeks. Well, those need to be costed out, so we need to know what they're planning. And, it's always, we're a fairly large club, both in size and physical. So sometimes those people are all running around doing other things, and we have to nail them down to try and get the answers that we need.
Doesn't look like we have any more questions here. We'll wait about another couple of seconds or so to see if any more trickle in. It does look like we had a comment come in here, Jonathan, and it says, I've found that preparing everyone a detailed calendar cycle, noting all due dates for specific information, meeting dates with GM, etc. Lay it all out for them.
That is the best plans, but I find that best laid plans sometimes don't work out because especially, these department people are pulled in different directions. And it's all depending on when you're planning your budget. I know there are some hotels and some clubs out there which unfortunately, because of the way their calendar falls, do their budgets, boom, in the middle of their busiest season. Why that happens, I don't know, but they do that. So you never know what's going to. And I see the additional question, can the information be easily protected? The information is very much protected. All these companies, again, the person or you assign each section to an individual person. So you assign exactly what you want them to see and what you don't want them to see. So everything is protected, and the security provided by these systems, they've all provided me information to protect payroll.
Another question that came in says, when proposing the option of purchasing a system, what is your thoughts on capitalizing the software or implementation costs over multiple years?
We are doing it over multiple years, yes. When we finally go ahead and pull the trigger to purchase, we will capitalize it because it meets the capitalization threshold. I think for most hotels and clubs, this would meet that threshold.
It doesn't look like we have any more questions from the audience here, so we would like to thank you, Jonathan, for sharing your expertise with us. On behalf of HFTP, thank you for all attending today's event, and thank you for your interesting questions as well. We do encourage you to visit the HFTP website for upcoming information on future webinars. This does conclude today's presentation, and you may now disconnect.